Rob Roderick, National Tile Contractors Association. You know, not all surfaces are flat enough to receive tile. There's basically standards for how flat a surface should be. And there's basically two standards. One of them is for large format tile, and it says that if we're going to set a tile that has one side that's 15 inches or larger, that we need to have a flat surface, and that surface should have no deviation of more than 1/8 of an inch and 10 foot. For all the smaller tiles, we should have no deviation of more than 1/4 of an inch and 10 foot. So what that tells us is almost every place that we're going to install tile is going to need some type of prep. And what I want to talk to you today is about how to handle that prep. How do we get it flat enough? You know, the best way to start off is probably to talk about using Thinset. You know, that's a very popular way to flatten floors or to correct walls, but Thinset isn't designed to be used in that way. Thinset's designed to be used in a uniform thickness across a surface. And the reason we don't want to use it to fix or prepare floors or walls is because it can shrink. So if we have one area that's 3 times deeper in Thinset than another area, it will shrink 3 times as much, and it can actually draw the tile down. So we want to use other products. So when we're trying to flatten surfaces, we've got 3 major categories of materials that we can use. Number one, to make a really flat surface, floating mud is a great option. If you've got enough room to do it on your floor, enough height, it makes a very, very flat floor, and it works great on the walls as well. Another thing that we can use is Cementitious Patch. You know, that's more familiar with the VCT guys and the luxury vinyl plank guys. They use that all the time. It's kind of newer to the tile guys, but it can go out to a feather edge and to different thicknesses depending upon the product and the manufacturer of that product. And then self-leveling, that's a very popular way to fix floors. That's used on floors. And you know, that's kind of, the word self-leveling kind of leads you to think that it levels itself. And there's actually some work that's being done to actually change the name of it in our industry standards and our guidelines, but and to use some other terms to refer to it, because it doesn't really level itself. We have to remove the surface tension. We have to use either a rake like we have here, you know, and pull across that self-leveling, or a trowel and remove that surface tension. One way I've heard it described is, if you can imagine a bead of water resting on something and you touch that bead of water, what happens? It spreads out, right? Well, the same thing with self-leveling. When we dump it out, we need to remove that surface tension with a trowel or a rake like what we have here. Now, some of the big mistakes that people make on self-leveling is they always require a primer, and there's 2 reasons we want to use a primer. One of them is so that the self-leveling will adhere to the surface that we're going to put it on. But the other one is it allows that self-leveling to flow the way that it should flow. You know, if you pour that self-leveling out on a really porous surface with no primer, it's just going to hang up there. It's not going to flow correctly. So we need to use a primer, and when we don't, we can have failures from that. And self-leveling is very, very water specific. And what I mean by that is we need to measure the amount of water when we mix it. And that's why this is a self-leveling kit. It comes with a measuring pitcher, so we can measure the amount of water. We've done some testing with this. I've been on some workshops where we've done some testing where we've added 1 cup too much water, 1 cup too little water. It's absolutely unbelievable the effects that a tiny bit of water has on your self-leveling. We want it to perform at the highest level, and in order to do that, we need to measure the water. So there's also other options where if we're hanging board or something, we could shim, put shims behind the board, or if we've got a stud that's maybe setting back, we can put another stud sistered to that one. We can use shims, and also sometimes people use planers when they have a stud that's sticking out too far. All of these different methods of prep that I just mentioned, we do in our regional training program. We have a substrate prep regional training program. It's an all-day program where we will have walls built and floors built. We will have you prep those walls and prep those floors and get them ready for tile. We're there to help you and train you and support you. So remember, don't use Thinset when you're wanting to fix or flatten your walls and floors. Use the right products, either mud, self-leveling, or Cementitious Patch. Until I see you guys on the road, stay safe.